talking about Pam Parsons. Pam is the Minister of Rural Economic Development, Minister of Labour, Minister responsible for Workplace NL, and, of course, the MHA for Harbour Grace-Port de Grave. And you made a local announcement today. Tell us about that, a fairly significant one around water and sewer.
I did, and I will say, Tim, since I first became elected about 10 years ago now, actually 2015, it's something that the residents of the south side of Harbour Grace have made very clear. When they amalgamated with the town of Harbour Grace, they were promised water and sewer. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened, and I think it's sometime in the 90s when they did amalgamate. But that said, I'm very pleased today. It took a lot of advocating, a lot of working with residents, and, of course, all levels of government. And today I was able to announce about $4 million to start the phase one of the project for the water wastewater system to begin on the south side of beautiful Harbour Grace. And it will start at the Conception Bay Highway, Route 70, and it will make its way down to Hibbs Road, and that will take in about 29 households to start. And so it's a large south side. I don't know if you've ever taken a drive down there. Beautiful, scenic south side Harbour Grace. Of course, the Kyle, as we know, is there anchored down in the harbour. So it's a pretty large stretch of road, and it will be done in phases, but I was really happy to announce that money today. And that said, it's, as I mentioned, it's all levels of government. The federal government have come in at 50% of the funding. The provincial government of Newfoundland and Labrador were at 40%, and the town then will pick up the 10%. And so work can get started, hopefully sooner than later. But I must say it was a great day. We had a great turnout. And it took a long time. As you know, Tim, some of these large-scale
take a while.
They take a while, right? So here we are.
So just before we move to the more political stuff, how are people in your neck of the woods doing post-fire? You got a lot out that way. What's the mood of the community like now, given we have a calm, it seems?
Yeah, well, the fires happened actually in the neighboring district of Carbonear-Trinity-Bay-de-Verde, which is literally next door to my district. That said, we did have a big fire in Spaniards Bay, but thankfully our first responders and our volunteer firefighters responded extremely quickly, and they managed to douse that fire before it became really bad. But that said, people are hurting. It's devastating. Some people have lost everything. I have spent time. I went down to the emergency center when it was held at Purcellvich School in Victoria, and I talked to people firsthand. I mean, these people who were just there with clothes on their backs. And thankfully, a lot of them even had their pets. They were able to have their pets rescued with them alongside. Then, as we know, as the fire grew, we had to move the emergency center up to Carbonear Academy, and I was down there as well, and to talk to some people, and again, it's very devastating. A lot of people have lost everything, but a big thing, and I think a reality is what we're hearing, is that these wildfires, we know that they're common in other parts of the country. We know that there's been many for hundreds across the country still burning, but I think it's reality here for Newfoundland and Labrador. Climate change certainly is real, that the global warming is having an impact. And that said, though, our volunteer firefighters, thank God for them. I always say they are the most courageous volunteers in the world, and those first responders, as well as the Avalon North Wolverine Search and Rescue teams. They were there on the front lines. They're still assisting to do what needs to be done. And without them, I think we'd be much worse off. But we all sleep easier at night knowing that these people are there to respond. But we will get through it.
So, speaking of sleeping easier, you set me up nicely for that one. Going to be an easy sleep the next 28 days starting Monday. I mean, when do you think we're going to be? I know you're not the premier. I know you can't say even if you know, but would it be a fair guess to say we're closer to having the election called than not?
Well, considering I thought, and many would have guessed that we would anticipate probably going to the polls back in January or even sometime this winter. But as you know, a day is a life in politics, and things can happen. But just as you said, the Premier is the only one who knows. That said, we're ready to go. I sincerely believe, I'm really proud of our government team, the work that we've done. Myself as MHA for the District of Harbour Grace-Port de Grave, it certainly has been an honor to work with the people of my district for the past 10 years. Lots of great things. It's really rewarding when you can actually see things, your communities being advanced, road work, organizations getting the funding, etc. But that said, Tim, there's always more work to be done, and you have to be prepared. So I will tell you, we're prepared and ready to go when the call is made.
You're good on the other side, Pam. That's good. Listen, a last question for you. How central do you think the MOU is going to be in this election campaign, and whether, we should have it or not? Or is this going to be a campaign about affordability and people wanting to make sure that their cost of living expenses aren't what they once were?
All of the above. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians know their politics. They pay attention to what's happening, and they're always happy and willing to discuss the issues at hand. Cost of living is a huge one. We all know that. It's not unique to us and here in Newfoundland and Labrador, but it's global. So that is a very important topic. But absolutely, the renegotiation of Churchill Falls certainly is very important. As you know, at the time, Premier Fury went in, opened up the House of Assembly to give the opposition time to answer questions. We had the experts come in from J.P. Morgan, and these people are the experts. And these are the people that we need to get the information from. From what we know about the deal, I certainly believe it is a good deal. But that said, the more information we can get out there, the better, and have people have opportunity to ask questions. But that said, what is important to remember is that this is simply an MOU. It's not binding. There's no deadline. The deadline is actually April of 2026 for the MOU to reach the life of the MOU process to decide whether or not this is a good deal for Newfoundland and Labrador. But what I am confident is that our Premier is not going to sign off on a deal that is not good for the people of this province.
Well, you lived up to our deal. You did your part. I did mine. Appreciate it as always, Pam. Thanks.
Well,
good to chat with you.
Thank you so much. Awesome to talk to you always, Tim.
All right. Take care. That is Minister Pam Parsons.